Title: The Haunting of Eastern State. In the heart of Philadelphia, where shadows stretch long across the crumbling ruins of the Eastern State Penitentiary, an unrelenting darkness lingers. Once a fortress of justice, its stone walls now whisper secrets of the condemned. The legend of the penitentiary had long fascinated historians and thrill-seekers alike, but none had truly uncovered the horrifying truth that lay beneath its rotting foundation. Chapter 1: The Arrival. Arthur Langston, a journalist with a penchant for the macabre, had spent years chasing ghost stories, yet none had drawn him quite like this. With his leather-bound journal and a recorder, he entered the penitentiary one crisp autumn evening, determined to separate myth from reality. "Remember, Mr. Langston," the guide, a weary old man named Ellis, warned. "You may not like what you find." Arthur merely chuckled. "I wouldn't be here if I was afraid." But as he stepped into the decayed corridors, a chill crawled down his spine. The heavy doors groaned as though disturbed from slumber. He turned on his recorder and spoke into it, noting the eerie silence that swallowed him whole. Chapter 2: The Whispering Walls. As Arthur explored, he felt an unnatural weight in the air. The penitentiary had been notorious for its strict solitary confinement system. Inmates lived in isolation, their only connection to the outside world being a small slit in the wall through which food was passed. Many prisoners went mad. Others whispered of inhuman entities that lurked in the shadows, feeding on their suffering. He reached cell block 12, where it was said the spirits of tortured prisoners still roamed. His flashlight flickered. A sound echoed through the corridor, whispers, barely audible, like wind through hollow bones. Arthur held his breath and pressed forward. Chapter 3: The Man in the Shadows. Then he saw it. At the far end of the cell block, a figure loomed, tall, cloaked in shadow, its hollow eyes reflecting the dim light. Arthur's pulse pounded. He fumbled with his recorder, his voice trembling. "Is someone there?" A guttural laugh resonated through the air. The figure advanced, its form shifting unnaturally, moving as though reality itself refused to contain it. Arthur stumbled backward, but his legs refused to carry him far. The lights above him flickered violently. The walls seemed to close in, and the whispers became a deafening chorus of agony. Chapter 4: The Truth Beneath. Arthur's research had uncovered rumors of an underground chamber beneath Eastern State, a place where the worst of the worst were kept, where punishments were meted out beyond comprehension. The legend spoke of a warden obsessed with breaking prisoners' spirits, using methods so vile they had been erased from history. Driven by a reckless curiosity, Arthur found a rusted grate near cell block 14. With great effort, he pried it open and descended into the abyss. The air was thick with decay. The chamber was lined with chains, skeletal remains still bound to the walls. Symbols, crude and archaic, were smeared across the stone in what appeared to be dried blood. And in the center, a massive iron door, etched with sigils of protection long since faded. A chill wrapped around Arthur's spine as he approached. His hand trembled as he reached out, pushing the door open. Chapter 5: The Awakening. The darkness inside was alive. A shape unfurled from the void, eyes like burning coals locking onto Arthur's soul. A voice, deep and hollow, spoke a name that had not been uttered for centuries. Arthur staggered back, realization dawning too late. The penitentiary had not just housed the condemned, it had imprisoned something far worse. And he had just set it free. The screams of the forgotten filled the chamber as the entity rose, its form coiling around Arthur like living shadow. He fought to escape, but the force pulled him deeper into the abyss. Above ground, Ellis, the old guide, stood at the entrance, listening. He sighed, shaking his head. "They never listen," he muttered, before walking away, leaving the penitentiary to claim another soul. Epilogue, the last recording. Days later, authorities found Arthur's recorder near cell block 12, its tape still intact. The last words he spoke were barely a whisper. "It's awake, it's coming." The tape cut to static. But among the noise, one final message could be heard, a guttural voice, not of this world. "At Kanchaknapong R6F, it knows your name."